G'day guys, how's it going? I'm Aaron Whitnall. This is ACWSport, and week 7 of the Premier League brought a massive early result in the race for the Premier League title because Manchester City beat the champions Chelsea at Stamford Bridge 1-0 thanks to a wonderful goal from Kevin De Bruyne. And I honestly think it's City's best ever performance under Pep Guardiola since he took charge. They were so dominant over Chelsea for the whole game. It really looked like they were up for it. And yeah, I just see it as a real statement of intent for the season moving forward. I know that we're still into the single-figure weeks of the Premier League, but you know this is a different side to the City team that we saw last year. And I think you could see that in the performance they put in this game. Because when you consider Chelsea beat them both times, home and away last season, this is a massive turnaround result for City and really proves just how far they've come in the summer with, Pep buying in the players that he wanted to buy. Now, at the same time, even though Chelsea, this isn't their best performance by a long shot, and I think that's why City won, at the same time, you do have to question Conte on a few things. Now, I know Chelsea have had a lot of fixtures lately. I know that they had a massive game in midweek against Atletico Madrid. But he was already saying, midway through the month, they're tired. Before this game, they're too tired. After this game, they were too tired. I almost feel like he had this defeatist attitude towards this game. And to be honest with you, I don't think he was trying to win this game at all. And I think you can see that when Morata got injured, for example, instead of bringing on Batshuayi, who scored the winner against Atletico Madrid and, scored the goal that won them the Premier League last year. So he, even though he may not necessarily be Chelsea's first choice, he can score on the big occasions. He brings on Willian and puts Eden Hazard up front. And for me, it just seemed like he was trying to play for a draw at home because they'd had a big game against Atletico Madrid during the week. Maybe he's more focused on the Champions League, and that's why he decided that a point here would be a good result. But that's just the way it came across. But a massive, massive result for City. And they've even got a different dynamic to how they're trying to control the games moving forward. Like in the last 10 minutes, when Chelsea were trying to pile on more pressure, instead of bringing on more defenders, which obviously invites more pressure on because you're going deeper, Pep brings on Gundogan and Bernardo Silva to try and just contain possession and keep City attacking more. So you can see he's got such an interesting philosophy about how to approach games now, and he's just got no fear whatsoever. He's willing to take risks that last season he wouldn't necessarily have been willing to take. I do think Chelsea were unlucky not to get a free kick in a dangerous position in the closing minutes, though, because the tackle on from Otamendi, for me, deserved the red. When I say unlucky, I mean I know they got the free kick, but for me, I feel that City should have gone down to 10 men. Could have made a difference in the dying moments, but overall, City very, very good for the win. Massive result, and let's see if Chelsea can bounce back against Palace and see if City can continue this incredible momentum they seem to have at the moment. Looking at their other major title contenders, Manchester United, they hosted Crystal Palace, who are still yet to win this season and yet to score. They are now the only team in Europe who have not scored this season in any professional league. That is not a record you want for sure. But look, it was an easy game for Manchester United. It was just a matter of when they scored and how many. Rashford was brilliant in this game. Early wonderful run from him, set up Mata. Fellaini got his first ever brace for Manchester United. And then, in the dying moments of the game, Romelu Lukaku scored his token goal. And, Lukaku loves a late goal. He's now scored 13 of his last 24 goals after the 80th minute. So he's deadly in the closing stages of the game, which could prove pivotal later on this season, as obviously the more tense games come up. But, it was easy for United. There's not really too much more to say on it. United could have had, they could have had 10 if they really wanted to. It was just so one-sided, and obviously Palace have got Chelsea next, so it's not going to get any easier. So it's a real devastating time for them, to say the least. Tottenham beat Huddersfield 4-0 at Huddersfield. Another great away performance for Spurs. Harry Kane just oozing class. He's now scored more goals in all competitions in 2017 than 7 other Premier League teams: Burnley, Crystal Palace, Southampton, Stoke, West Brom, Swansea and Watford. It's just brilliant. He's got 16 goals in his last 7 away games, and he's now scored against 25 different Premier League teams that he's faced in his career. For me, he is the best striker in the league at the moment. Obviously, there's going to be people that are saying Lukaku and Aguero deserve to be up there, and Jesus. They do, but for now, it's safe to say Kane is the one taking the headlines, and deservedly so as well. He's he's been brilliant. The only sad thing for Spurs for me out of that game is Dele Alli's diving. I just think Ellie needs to start cutting out this kind of stupid behaviour, with the gesture for England that got in the ban, this dive. Look, you're so good. You don't need to do that kind of stuff. So it's a real shame, and hopefully he will cut that out. But great result for Spurs. Huddersfield, first kind of proper Premier League defeat, really, in terms of being shown a bit of a class difference there. But you're not expected to win those games. The fans look like they still enjoyed it. They didn't stop singing, so it's great to see. But good win for Spurs. And if they can take some of that away form to Wembley, they could really push. I believe they could push the Manchester teams along with Chelsea. So we'll have to see how that develops in the coming weeks. Liverpool drew 1-1 at Newcastle. Held again. They just cannot quite get winning momentum going. You thought with their win at Leicester they would have been able to kind of finally get back on the winning run, but obviously Moscow stopped that, and then now this. I mean, it's really tough because since the Arsenal game, Liverpool have had 146 shots at goal, but they've only scored 9. So they've got some serious finishing issues. Now Mane's ruled out for 6-7 weeks. So they're pretty much relying on Salah because he seems to be the only person that scores for them. Although Coutinho has started banging them in and in style. I mean, what a wonderful goal that was for him. But this could be a difficult time. I know Klopp doesn't want to put any pressure on his strikers for not finishing, but they kind of need to. That's pretty embarrassing. 146 shots and only 9 goals. But they face Manchester United next week. Things don't get any easier for them. And if I was Klopp, I'd be looking at what happens beyond Manchester United, not necessarily in that game. Although obviously a win in that game would be monumental in terms of a boost for them. As for Newcastle, great result. But it just seems to keep on doing his wonderful work. And I think, again, kind of like Huddersfield, really, you just got to take it each week as it comes and just enjoy it. I think Newcastle will stay up. Benitez seems to have a really good team spirit there. The result he kind of would have wanted, really, just avoid defeat to a big team. So good for him. Arsenal blitzed Brighton in exactly the fashion you would expect them to. Not really too much to talk about from that game. Alexis Sanchez continues to impress, even though he's not necessarily scoring, but he's been involved in more goals than any other Arsenal player since he joined the club. And you can kind of see why, because he's the best player. But I mean, kind of like Huddersfield, really. Like, there was definitely always going to be a class difference between these two sides. I hope Brighton fans enjoyed the away day out, but it's just a token Arsenal performance against the lower team. So, it gets Arsenal kind of back on the momentum. We'll just have to see where they go in the coming weeks. One team that is seriously struggling at the moment is Everton. I mean, wow. Koeman has really hit a blip, that's for sure. And I mentioned it last week. I thought in the summer, when he actually bought the players, that the players look good. Although when you actually see them in the way they're playing, you can very much question that and their lack of pace. And I mean, Burnley were good for the win, really. Everton just don't really have a major threat. I mean, they didn't replace Lukaku. And even though he started Niasse and said Niasse, brought something different, was a really good player, if he's that good, why does he loan him out to Hull? Really don't think he's helped himself with that kind of comment. I also don't really think that he helped himself before he even got to the job. Because now he's in a difficult spot, I don't think fans will back him as much, knowing that at the end of the day, the second the Barcelona job becomes free, Koeman wants to go for it. Why would you back a manager that has made it quite clear he doesn't want to be there for a long time? So, it's a difficult situation for Everton, and they really, really need a win soon. West Ham picked up a massive 3 points at home to Swansea, coming in the dying embers of the game. Really, really helps with some of the pressure on Bilic there, because he made a big call taking off Javier Hernandez, which the fans were not happy with. Thankfully, though, Saka, who he brought in place of Hernandez, scored the winning goal. Shows that he got it right this time, and hopefully it just eases the pressure over the coming weeks, and West Ham can kind of kick on now with that. West Brom threw away a 2-goal lead at home to Watford. Again, it's another good away performance from Watford. All right, disastrous opening 25 minutes, but from that point on, Watford really battled hard, got back into the game. And aside from the City game, Watford are having a pretty solid season. Games like this, if they really want to progress, they need to win. But, West Brom can be a tricky place to go. So, fair play. Tony Pulis' sides are always very well organised, and to come from 2-0 down, that probably feels like a win. So, good point for Watford on the road. And Richarlison, with his second consecutive injury time goal to rescue something for Watford. So yeah, fantastic for him, really setting into life in the Premier League well. Stoke versus Southampton. Stoke versus Southampton. Now, this game's funny for me because when I said in my predictions that Stoke were going to win 2-1, I got slated by a few people. And, well, they won 2-1. So I think I got that one right. And it kind of happened in the way I thought it would. I just thought Stoke had a little bit more quality than Southampton. I think it showed in the game. And it's always great to see Peter Crouch in the score sheet. Still going at 36 years old. Yeah, all right, not his most glorious goal, but at the same time, it's a good win for Stoke, and Southampton, they're just inconsistent, aren't they? That's the best way to sum it up, really. And then the final game of the weekend was Bournemouth versus Leicester, and it ended 0-0 and was a complete snooze fest. And that's about as much as I have to say on that game. So, yeah, look, this weekend, it wasn't the most emphatic weekend of Premier League football. But, next week there are some slightly bigger games, aside from obviously the Chelsea City game. That one was massive. And a lot of the results are the kind of results that you'd expect to see. So, fairly standard week in the Premier League in that aspect. But comment below, let me know, what were your highlights of the weekend? What do you think the major talking points are? And obviously, what do you think of City's big win over Chelsea? As always, I'm Aaron Whitnall. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys again soon.